This is Mission Control Houston. Welcome to ISS Update. It is Wednesday, March 6, 2013. You're looking at a live view inside the International Space Station Flight Control Room here at the Johnson Space Center. This team today is being led by Flight Director Mike Lammers. He is sitting there at the center console there on the right. Astronaut Doug Wheelock there on the left in the white shirt. He is today's Capcom, the voice up to the crew. It's going to be a busy day on board the International Space Station. Lots of activity taking place inside as the crew works on various science and maintenance tasks. And then outside the space station, quite an unusual activity going on today, as this will be the first time that an unpressurized cargo piece is going to be removed from the SpaceX Dragon spacecraft, which you see there docked with the International Space Station. It is currently plugged into the Harmony node. This is a view from the bottom side of Dragon. You're looking up inside the trunk there. You can sort of make out two what looks like a Y-shaped devices there. Those are grapple bars. Those were flown up in this unpressurized section of Dragon up to the International Space Station. Together they weigh about 602 pounds. Those are going to be removed later on today, beginning at about 1 p.m. Central Time. This will be a completely ground-commanded maneuver with the teams here in Houston commanding the station's giant 58-foot-long robotic arms to reach in there and to pull these grapple bars out. Now, what these grapple bars are pieces of equipment that will be used to remove a failed radiator on the S1 and P1 truss of the International Space Station, should that ever be deemed necessary. These grapple bars are stored inside Dragon. They're sort of canted or tilted over diagonally a little bit, just to make them a little bit smaller, make it a bit easier to back them out of the Dragon spacecraft coming up later on today. But those are going to be stored temporarily out on a payload attachment point on the outside of the station, and then later on this summer they will be moved over to the S1 and P1 truss on the left and right hand side of the station. In addition to that, Kevin Ford, the commander of Expedition 34, has been working on the majority of his morning taking down the marangoni experiment, which is inside the International Space Station. This is a Japanese experiment that takes a look at fluid tension and how that works in zero gravity. You see fluid tension here on Earth all the time. If you ever washed your car, you see how those water droplets sort of form into little balls. That is surface tension. So this marangoni experiment, or the marangoni effect, takes a look at that, and also takes a look at how heat is transferred through those fluids and how that is different up in gravity versus here on Earth. Kevin Ford also working to review some procedures today on the carbon dioxide removal assembly. This is part of the device on board the space station that removes carbon dioxide, does exactly what it sounds like. It keeps the air acceptable and keeps it clean for the crew members to breathe. There were some spare parts flown up on the SpaceX flight, some new beds that help scrub the air itself. But there's going to be some ongoing maintenance taking place later on this week, and he's taking a look at the procedures for that today. Ford, Oleg Novitsky, and Evgeny Tarelkin also in their final week almost aboard the International Space Station. They are due to come home on March 14th. They're going to be landing just to the north of the town of Arkalyk in Kazakhstan, but they're getting everything gathered, packing items up. There's some very specific instructions that were sent up to the crew in terms of what they need to keep, what they need to bring home, and what they need to throw away. So it's almost like packing whenever you're coming home from a vacation. They're going to be gathering all those items up, and getting ready for the return to Earth. In terms of the timeline on March 14th, their Soyuz, which is the Soyuz TMA-06M, will be undocking the evening of March 14th. We're going to have coverage of the farewell and hatch closure beginning at about 3:45 p.m. that afternoon, Central Time, here on NASA television. The actual farewells and hatch closure will take place at 4:15 p.m. Then undocking coverage begins at 7:15, with undocking at 7:30 p.m. Central Time as Soyuz backs away from the International Space Station, and then will return at 9:45 p.m. Central Time for landing coverage. The deorbit burn will take place at 10:04 p.m. Central Time, with landing there on the ground in Kazakhstan less than an hour later at 10:57 p.m. Central Time. Even though it is March in Kazakhstan, the weather is still extremely cold. It's in the single digits during the day, falling into negative single digits, so quite a frosty greeting for this crew as they return home after 5 months in space. While they are doing that, Chris Cassidy, Pavel Vinogradov and Alexander Mazurkin, which will be the next crew to fly up to the station, have been undergoing final preparations at the Gagarin Cosmonaut Training Center. They've been going through some final qualification simulations and tests and being officially certified to fly. They will wrap up some simulation runs today, and then tomorrow they're going to hold the traditional news conference at GCTC. They'll take a ceremonial tour of Red Square there in Moscow, and will lay flowers at the Kremlin Wall, where several space icons are interred, including Yuri Gagarin. So quite a bit of tradition and activity taking place as this crew gets ready to fly up to the station on March 28th. They will be the first crew to perform a single-day launch to docking flight as they head up to the space station. So they will dock about 6 hours after they lift off from the Baikonur Cosmodrome. Of course, we'll have live coverage here on NASA television of those activities.